Hello guys, so this is the Connect 101 basic orientation. So what we'll be doing today is going through the very basics of Connect and taking you through, taking from the logging in and all the way up through, setting your SmartBook assignments, question bank assignments, and even using stuff like the Instructor Resources as well. So I'm just going to click through the slide deck here. So this is our agenda. We'll go through accessing Connect, then how to add your course to the title you want, adding your question bank and how to set your policies, the SmartBook 2.0, and then some extra features such as grouping, reporting, and Instructor Resources, and any questions you might have. So what we'll do from here is, Afsana, do you want to do some housekeeping before we begin?
Yeah, sure. Just go to the next slide and I can quickly run through everything that we need to cover. Okay, so if you have just joined and you're experiencing sound issues, I would just recommend calling in using your phone. Otherwise, if you're not having any issues using your computer, that's absolutely fine as well. But it's just a heads up, if you do have any internet issues, that's probably the best way to connect the audio. And obviously any platforms you might be using in the home, like Netflix, YouTube, not just yourself, but other people in the home as well, that could be impacting your signal as well. And the session is being recorded, so if you do miss any parts, we will be sending the recording after this session as well. And there will be an opportunity for Q&A at the end too. Can you just go to the next slide as well, please? And finally, we can't unfortunately turn on your microphones just because of the way the webinar is being set up. But you can use the Q&A and the chat box on the right-hand side to ask any questions, leave any comments, and just generally engage with Kevin during the actual webinar. So yeah, that's all from me, Kevin.
Perfect. Thanks so much for Afsana. So then to begin on how to access Connect. So the very first thing is to go to this web address, which is connect.mheducation.com, and enter your email and password. So some of you haven't used Connect before or might have used Connect for a while, might have forgot your password. So the best way to do that is use this Forget Password button here. And if you have any issues accessing after that, emailing Trinita Hodgman, my colleague on the implementation team. So we'll just go through that. I'm going to share my screen and have a look at what that looks like for first-time users. So hopefully you can see this in 1 second. And here we are. So the first time you log in, put your email address in here and then followed by your password, and then click the sign in button. As mentioned, if you've forgotten your password, you can use this Forget Password option. And also there's a link to our CXG team here with the Need Help button. So the first time you're signing in, you're going to get asked about accepting our terms of use and privacy notice. So you can read through those here. There's 2 links to both of those. So what we're going to do is just check those and click Save and Continue. So the first step when you come into Connect is to add your course. So you can click on this Add Course button here. And what we're going to see here is a page where we can enter the title, the author, the subject, or if you know the ISBN, you can enter that as well. Today, I'm just going to search for one of our books, Breely, and we're going to use his Fundamentals of Corporate Finance to set up our first course. So we'll search their name, and we can see here we have a list of all the titles. So what we're going to set up is Fundamentals of Corporate Finance for Breely. So once you've found your edition, you just click on it here. And the next part is setting up the course details. So you can see a few bits of information here that need to be filled in. So the course name, what we recommend here is normally using your course code or, the subject name. So what we'll call it here is Corporate Finance. And then the time zone. So this is important so your students know that everything is interacting, and when you're setting a due date that's matching your local time zone as well. So we'll scroll down here and we're going to look for, in my case, Europe, London. You can also add registration dates. So these are optional, but they can basically stop the student registering before your course starts and, stop them registering after a certain date. But these might be useful if you're trying to get all your students registered, in the first week or 2 weeks. So then enter your section name. So, we normally recommend, something like semester 1 here, or autumn or fall 2020. So once you've entered your details here, just click on Create Course. And what we're going to see on this page is basically your registration information. So, we'll have the course name, the instructor name, and also what's quite important here is your section web address. So this is what you would share with the students to have them access Connect, which we can look at a bit later. So when we open up this the first time or after you've created your course, it's going to be basically an empty shell. So what we want to do here is put in some content. So what we'll add here is we'll click on Add Assignments, and this shows us all the content that we can put in here or different assignment types. So we're going to focus on two main pieces today, which is the Question Bank and SmartBook 2.0. So the Question Bank is basically a repository of all the questions for the text. So looking at that, we'll click on this first and click on Question Bank. So when this loads up, what we'll see is, everything, all the content here broken down by chapters, or, there might be some content that is less specific. So in this case, we have, a financial prep course or interactive. So you can scroll down here and then select, the chapter that you're studying at the time or that you want your students to learn about. So we'll click on Chapter 2, Financial Markets and Institutions. And again, once we come in here, we're going to see a further breakdown of the question types. So in this case, we're seeing problems, which are algorithmic. So these are problems where the variables can change, so the students can, get a slightly different version of the question every time. The problems are static, which are pretty much replicas of questions at the end of the book, and the test bank here, which is more generalized, such as MCQs and true or false questions. So we'll click into the test bank here. And what we can see here is a list of all the potential questions for this chapter. So there's quite a lot of questions here. There's 97 questions. So a good place to start is using the filters here on the left. So if you just wanted multiple choice questions, you can filter these out. So we're just seeing MCQs. Again, we still have 65 questions, which is quite a lot. So we might want to break this down further by using the various filters here. So if we wanted to filter by difficulty level, we could just have it so we're only seeing medium and hard multiple choice questions here. So when we filter those, we have 54. And you can keep going further with these. We have also, options for the topic that you want the students to go through or have questions on, and the learning objectives. So in this case, what we can do is select the questions based on the 54 we have here. So to actually go through and read the question itself, you can click on it, and this will load up and show you the full question available. So you can go through the questions this way using the arrows up here, and they will take you through the various questions. If you want to toggle back to the list view, you can click on the list up here and click through that. So we can see here we have all our questions. So as you're going through, you can either check the list up here and then click Add Checked Questions, or you can, as you're clicking through, you can do it from in here as well. So when we're looking at the list here, there's two ways of adding questions. You can add them as an individual question or add to a pool. So an individual question will allow the students, they will have to do that question as going through. The other option is to add a question as a pool. So that would, in some cases you could select 10 questions and the students will get 5. So we'll do a mix of questions here. We're going to add this question here as an individual question, and then we'll select 3 other questions and we'll add them to a pool. So what we see here is going to ask us to name the pool. So in this case, we can call it Chapter 2 pool. And then it's going to ask us how many questions out of the 3 do we want to draw. So we'll say 1 question in this case. And it's also asking you what the point value for each of those questions will be. So we'll click Add to Pool. And now we have all our questions selected for this assignment. So we can review all our questions by clicking the Organize Assignment tab up here. And we can see the questions we selected, and we can also see the pool. So before going any further, you can review all the questions and make sure you're happy with everything there. You can also check the various point values and edit them if you need to. So once you're happy with everything there, you can press Continue. And our next page is for setting the policies. So what we can see up here is you can name your assignment. So we'll call this Chapter 2 Questions. We can also set some due dates here, and an available start date. So we'll leave them blank for this moment. We also have a proctoring option here, which is new to McGraw-Hill, which we can give more information on if you're interested. So this is our policies, which is essentially the rules around the assignment that's being set. So we can expand these settings and look at them. There's some default settings up here at the top, which is homework, practice, quiz, and exam. So homework and practice are both quite open and allow the students to have multiple attempts and have access to resources. Quiz and exam are more stricter, so in the sense that they have only one attempt and you can add a time limit. All these can be edited as you're going through. So I would recommend having a look through some of these settings, and here are some to kind of consider when you're going through a first time. So if we click on edit all settings, the first thing you can add in here is a time limit. So you might want your students to only have the quiz for 60 minutes. You can scramble the questions here as well, so that would mean questions will come up in a randomized order. This can be quite useful if you want to stop students possibly copying off each other. Next part would be the attempts. So the assignment attempts here, you could set it for 1, 2, 3 or unlimited. And then, if you have multiple attempts, will the student have a start over from scratch, or will they begin from the previous attempt? You can also have a look at the resources here. So this is the resources the students have access to as they're doing the questions. For homework and practice, there's quite a lot available to students, so they can learn as they're going through. For quiz and exam, what you'll see by default is these will be all unchecked. And the final part to check is the feedback. So this is after a student has completed the assignment, what they will see or what will be available. This is quite powerful. So for, practice, you can have it, so after the student has done everything, they could see the detailed feedback with the solutions so they can learn and use it as self-study. If you're doing this for a quiz or exam, you might want to withhold this all until a further date. So as we can see here, we can hold feedback until a certain date or time. So in this case, we'll hold it until the 27th. So again, once you've selected all these, you can click apply to the assignment only. Oh, we'll just withhold that. And what we can see here then is we have all our policies ready to go. We can click review and assign. So on this final page, we're just reviewing everything. So you can change anything you want here at the end. You can review the policies you set, and you can also review the questions you set as well. So once you're happy with everything, you can assign it. And what we can see here now is that this quiz is now available for students. So the next part we'll look at is the SmartBook 2.0. So again, to get to the SmartBook 2.0 and add it, we can do it from here at Add Assignment. So what we can do here is click on SmartBook 2.0. And what we're going to see on this page is two options. We're going to see the new assignment option and the review assignment. So a new assignment allows for one or multiple chapters, so you can create a target assignment as it says there. The review assignment is more for revision. So again, you could select multiple assignments or multiple chapters that you want the student to review and read themselves. So we'll select a new assignment in this case, and then select the chapters we want. So we can see here, what we'll start with is chapter 1, and press continue. So when we get to this page, we can see there's quite a lot going on. The first thing is this assignment scope slider on the right of the screen. So what we can do is we can slide this up and down. As we slide up and down, we can see the time and concepts go up and down. So we can see here it's going to average 30 to 45 minutes per student. And this is quite useful for, thinking about the time on task. How long is the student doing on your subject or for your course? I know this varies from course to course, but we recommend kind of 30 to 45 minutes reading time as an achievable goal for the students. Any longer and the students might get bored or might not complete it. Any shorter and they're not learning a lot. We can also see here the number of concepts that we want the student to learn. We see 25 concepts. So this is quite a quick and general way of getting the student to go through and read quite a lot of material quite quickly, and give them quite a good level 1 understanding. You can also click over here and look at the subheadings that are available. So if you want to make sure that they're covering a certain topic, you can select it here. So we can drop down here and keep dropping down to the various subheadings. So there might be various pieces that you feel are important that are deselected here that you can reselect to make sure the student is reading about them. So once you've selected everything here and reviewed everything, you can press on continue. So here we need to name our assignment. So again, we can call this Chapter 1. And again, you can add a start date, and we need a due date for the SmartBook 2.0. So the due date, there's two ways to do it. You could set it for the end of semester to leave it quite open for the students. What we recommend is doing on a week-by-week basis. If you can do that, you could set it, as a pre-class reading. Where we have SmartBook 2.0 being used as pre-class reading, we see much higher engagement with material. So in this case, we'll set it just for the 30th of September. The next part is looking at the points. So we'll set for 100 points here. Again, this is quite binary, as if the student doesn't complete the reading, they'll only get 0 points. If they complete the reading, they'll get the 100 points. So once you're happy with all your settings here, just click Assign. So what we'll do quickly is have a look at what the SmartBook 2.0 looks like from the student view. So, and you can also check your student view here just by clicking on the views up top. The student view is slightly different from the instructor view overall. So we can see here what we set for the students so far. So we'll have a look at the Chapter 1 of the SmartBook 2.0. So once this loads up, the student will see this landing page. So we'll tell them the estimated duration of the reading. So we know it's about 31 minutes to 47 minutes. Again, this will vary from student to student, so it's showing the higher end of that. It'll show the other concepts that they need to learn and also the due date. The student can begin with the reading or the questions depending on what they want. We would recommend the reading, so they actually are getting some background information before they start reading. So we can see here this covers the highlights for students, and this is the highlights and the concepts we were looking at when we were selecting earlier. So a student can click through and look through all these concepts. It turns blue as they're reading through it, and when they understand the topic, it will turn to green. So SmartBook 2.0 is adaptive, and the adaptive portion comes from the questions here. So when the student clicks to 2 questions, it will start taking in some data points about the student. Firstly, are they getting the questions right? Secondly, the speed they're reading at, the speed they're answering the questions at. And then the third is this confidence they have. So how confident are they answering the questions, and how confident are they that their answer is right? So in this case, I've selected 2 answers at random, and I'm just going to say medium. So I've got it correct here. So this is showing the SmartBook 2.0 that I understand this concept about tangible assets. I haven't fully completed it, so it's going to ask me another question on it. So I'll click next question, and it's going to financing decision involves. So again, we'll pick a random answer and see how we get on. So I've been incorrect here. So if I'm a student here, I could go back and read about the concept. So it'll bring me directly to the place in the book where they discuss this concept. Or else I can go straight ahead and click on next question. So what we'll do here is we'll select a random answer again, and we'll pick low confidence. So at this stage, I've answered all the questions with a low to medium confidence, and I've got the majority of them wrong. So it's not allowing me to read any more questions. So it's sending me back to read about the concept so I fully understand it. So the SmartBook 2.0, every student will have a different question path here. So if a student understands what they've been reading so far, they can go through this much quicker than a student that doesn't. So a student that reads, does the questions correctly, will go through this much quicker than a student that, try to randomly guess their way through it. And again, there's a lot of reporting and data that can be taken from this that you can use in your class after the students have done their reading. You can also track the number of students that have been doing their SmartBook 2.0 assignments to help you see how much of your class is engaging with your material before lectures. So the next thing we're going to look at is, these are the 2 main features of Connect that you can use and build on the platform, and they can be quite useful. There's many ways to use it. You can use the question bank to build exams if you wanted to use an in-class exam. for summative assessments and formative assessments, or like what we've done here as a practice for students to go in and revise. Much the same with the SmartBook 2.0, you can use it as kind of weekly readings or as a way for a student to use it for self-study. To kind of help you group everything together, you can basically put in folders here as well to break down everything you're doing. So by doing that, you can click up here and click on the group option and click add. So you can name these groups whatever you want. So in this case, we could call it, you could break it down by a chapter by chapter basis, or a week by week, or a lecture by lecture basis. So in this case, we'll call it lecture 1. And we can also put in, you know, weekly readings and quiz. So once this is done, you can drag and drop everything in there quite simply. We'll drag in chapter 1 and we'll drag in chapter 2 as well. So what this looks like again, so you can see what everything looks like as mentioned before by clicking on this student view. The next thing to think about is as your course is going on, you can see how well the students have been interacting with it by using the performance tab. So I'll just have a quick, we'll just remove here, we'll just stop sharing 1 second. So as we go through this these are some of what we were looking at earlier. These slides will be available to anyone that wants to use them. So the reporting here is quite powerful and it's available. We can review this with you one-to-one. You can book a meeting with me or Trinita on the implementation team. And as you work through Connect, you can, you know, see how well your students are doing, see the parts that the student understands or do not understand. And from there, we can help your Connect platform and Connect usage grow in the coming months and coming years. The next part as well is in Connect, the library. So if you click on library in there and then the Instructor Resources, you can review, you know, PowerPoint presentations with solution manuals in there, and it gives a lot of useful things that you can use in the classroom as well. So to find them, I'm just going to share my screen one more time. So you can click them by clicking the library tab up top and then click on Instructor Resources. So from here, you can open up PowerPoint presentations, the test bank, and these are all downloadable and can be put on your LMS once it's password protected. And then finally, I think that's everything from our side at the moment. If we have any questions so far. So one question I can see really quickly there is how can students access Connect? So what we'll do is we'll just share my screen here. And with regards to students accessing Connect, it will look a bit like this. So what we can see here is our section web address. So if we take this section web address, this is what you'll be sharing with your students to have them access Connect. So we can take this and we'll copy it out. I'm just going to put into a new tab here. So when a student first comes in here, they'll enter their email address. So we always recommend them using their own, you know, university or institution email address. So what I'll use one is this one here, and we'll just put this in here. So the first time they're registering, they'll enter their email here and confirm it. So all this stuff is like what they would use on registering for any other website. So they can enter it, create a password here, and put it all in. And they just need to agree to the terms and conditions. So the student on the next page will see their various purchasing options that are available to them. So they can use temporary access for 2 weeks, or alternatively they can purchase it directly. So this would give them a digital only option to access Connect, and they can use that using a credit card. And then they alternatively use a Connect code. So this is most commonly seen where your bookshop might be selling a physical print version of the book, and also they'll have a code to access the digital version as well. So I believe that's everything from our side at the moment. Unless anyone wants to add in everything, I think that's good. Asana, is there anything we want to add in or any questions I've missed there? Okay, perfect. I can't see any questions coming in, so I'll wrap it up here. You can contact me here at kevin.o'connell@mheducation.com. And if you want to do any further follow-ups, you can book an implementation meeting here using this Calendly link. So it's calendly.com/UKI-NICI-implementation, and we can set up a one-to-one 30-minute call to help you set up your Connect course. That's all from me. Thank you very much, guys.